What were you drinking and how much? I am sometimes hesitant to answer this question, and I think it's usually one of two reasons why people ask this question. And the first reason being, I think some people are just genuinely curious. They want to know. And then there are the other people who I was when I would ask this question. I wanted to know how much someone was drinking and how often because I wanted to compare my drinking to theirs. Because I know as alcoholics, myself included, we usually have that one person in our lives while we're in our active addiction that we compare ourselves to. We compare how much we drink and how often we drink to help us feel better about our problem. And usually it's someone who we think drinks more than us. So if we're ever feeling like maybe we need to quit drinking, maybe we have an issue, whatever, if we're feeling any kind of type of way like that, typically we look at that one person and think, oh, well, I don't drink as much as them, so clearly I don't have a problem. But to answer the question, my poison of choice was definitely wine. That's what I would prefer. And somewhere inside it made me feel more like classy because I was drinking wine, which the excuses we use to justify our drinking, I'll just leave it right there. But really, I would drink anything that was available, whether it was beer, vodka, white wine, champagne, whatever you had. I was like a dumpster. I would drink it because ultimately my goal was just to get drunk. I definitely was not drinking for the taste. And as I look back now, I can honestly say I do not like the taste of alcohol at all. For me, it started off gradually. I started into that whole mommy wine culture drinking club. It was one or two glasses a few nights a week. I actually remember pouring out bottles of red wine because they would like actually go bad and just start smelling like straight vinegar, which is so hard for me to imagine now that I actually would pour out alcohol. But over time, as life happened, it didn't stay just one or two glasses of wine, one or two nights a week. Eventually, it became three glasses, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And then pretty soon it went to four glasses because I started to build a tolerance. And before I knew it, it was a full bottle of wine 3 to 4 nights a week. And that one bottle of wine turned into almost every single night of the week. Like I think maybe I would go one night a week not drinking. And of course, with alcohol being a progressive thing and how you build a tolerance to it, that one bottle turned into 2 bottles, turned into 3 bottles, and it eventually turned into that box of wine, which at the time, I didn't know exactly how many bottles were in that box. So I kind of liked it because I didn't know how much I was drinking. But yes, towards the end, I was drinking that full box of wine and was completely blacking out. I don't have a whole lot of recollection of the last year of my drinking. And I also noticed as my addiction got worse, the blackouts were more and more and more. I haven't been able to figure out scientifically how that all works, but I would have some nights where I wouldn't black out. But for the most part, it was just a blackout. And it was heavy binge drinking. So I would go 4, 5, 6 days in a row drinking. I would wake up one morning, freak out, have a come to Jesus moment and say I was going to quit drinking. So maybe I'd last 2, maybe 3 days, but then I would get right back on the wagon. And towards the end, I started mixing it up with shots of liquor to get the job done quicker. I loved Fireball. I would buy those mini bottles. First of all, I would tell my husband I was going to go to the store to buy my said box of wine, but I would also grab a few mini bottles and I would hide those around the house. Usually I would do a few in the car before I got in the house, and then I would have them stashed. So he would just think I was drinking this amount, but I wasn't. I was drinking even more than that. And I remember pulling out the plastic bag with the spout that was in the box of wine to cut the bottom off to make sure I would get every single drop out of it, because you couldn't get all of it just out of the spout. It's definitely a progressive thing. So if you see where your alcohol intake is becoming more and more and more, here's your sign. That's a red flag, because if you don't stop, it will become more.